Hi, welcome to Teen Pride Book Talk. My name is Lucy, and this is the program on AADL TV, where I take a little bit of time each episode to tell you about a young adult book that is both representative of and inclusive of folks in the LGBTQIA plus community. The book that I would like to talk about today is the excellent National Book Award winning Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda Lo. And this book is good for so many reasons. There's really a lot of components that go into making it such a worthy award winner. There's a historical component, it is historical fiction, and then there's the story of a girl figuring out her sexuality, and there's the story of innovation and technology, all wrapped up into this book. So this book takes place in Chinatown in San Francisco in the 1950s, starts in 1954 to be precise. So this is during the Red Scare. The book centers on 17-year-old Lily Hugh, who is a Chinese American teen, and her parents are very upstanding citizens in Chinatown. Her father is a doctor and her mother is a nurse, and they're always very careful to be well-behaved. They live on edge because of the Red Scare that's running through society and McCarthyism. And for the residents of Chinatown, the idea of being called out as communists really put them on edge at that point. Immigrants could be deported, they could have their papers taken away, and this is in fact what happens to Lily's father. He is asked to condemn one of his patients as being a communist, and he won't do it because he doesn't have evidence that his patient is that. And so immigration officers take away his papers. This puts restrictions on him, but it also places Lily in a position where she has to be even more careful with how she is behaving. This leads into the biggest part of this book, which is Lily discovering herself and figuring out her sexuality. Lily is a girl who's extremely interested in space exploration. She wants to be a rocket scientist, which was unusual for both women and Asian American women at that time. So she doesn't have a lot of friends who have that same interest. She is in a science class and she meets Kathleen, who is a girl who wants to be a pilot. And they connect through this intellectual likeness, but then they start to connect in a stronger way. And it is Kathleen likes to be called Kath. It is Kath who first takes Lily to this place called the Telegraph Club. Lily has heard of the Telegraph Club because one day when she was sitting in a restaurant, she saw a male impersonator who was a very famous male impersonator and learned that she performed at the Telegraph Club. And Lily saw an ad in the newspaper for the Telegraph Club that kind of piqued her interest. And so she was looking for a way to go there, but she didn't know how she would do that. She'd have to lie to her parents about where she was going. She'd have to sneak out, and she had to have a way to get in. She wasn't old enough. She was 17. So Kath is sort of the gateway into the Telegraph Club. Kath helps her get a fake ID and takes her to the club. The Telegraph Club is a gay bar where a lot of male impersonators, as they were called at that time, they would be called drag kings now, performed. And it was also a very safe space for queer people to be in. And Lily, when she goes there with Kath, meets all sorts of interesting people. She meets people who can mentor her and help guide her and help her realize what she is having trouble coming to terms with, which is the idea of what if I'm different than what I thought I was. And as you can imagine, 1954 in Chinatown in San Francisco was not a safe place for a girl to fall in love with another girl. We already know that it wasn't a safe space, particularly to be a Chinese American or have any affiliation with China, to be an immigrant. And so finding the Telegraph Club and finding this safe space is a very important part of this book. Malinda Lo's descriptions throughout the book are so detailed and really help you picture what she's describing, so much so in the Telegraph Club. There are other places in Lily's life where she has to deal with microaggressions simply for being Asian American, and that happens a lot throughout the book with her peers, especially. There are chapters in this book that offer different points of view, and those are very interesting. We get the point of view of Lily's parents when they first met, and we get their love story, which was something that was not approved of by their parents, and they came to the United States. And this is sort of an interesting juxtaposition to the relationship that is happening between Kath and Lily. And we also get some chapters from the point of view of Lily's Aunt Judy. Aunt Judy is a very interesting character in this book. I really liked Aunt Judy. She is really someone that Lily looks up to because she is a scientist. Aunt Judy is a computer, so she is a coder, and it was unusual for Asian American women to be computers at that time, and she has the ability to support Lily in a different way. When Lily starts to share more of who she is, more of her interests, both intellectually and more of who she is as a person with her parents, Aunt Judy is a really important figure, sort of acting as a mediator between Lily's parents and Lily. And the chapters with Aunt Judy's point of view were very interesting historically as well. So you have these three different pieces. You have the historical component with the McCarthyism, and then you have the LGBTQ component with Lily discovering that she's gay and learning about that life and all the people in the Telegraph Club and what that was like at that time in San Francisco. Telegraph Club is based on a real place. Some of the male impersonators there are based on real people. And you also have the component of the technology and women contributing to that and women being computers. These multiple points of view are interspersed with timelines that go back and forth. So the book is not chronological, but we're always sort of given this time frame for when things are happening. And the timelines help connect the switching points of view. The timelines also help you read deeper into how everyone's lives connect. So that was a part of the book that I really liked too. And it also kept reminding you that you were reading something that was placed in a real historical time period, because the timelines had things that were happening in the book and then things that were happening in history as we know it. So Malinda Lo has a really great website, and there's a lot of resources on there. And she said on her blog that when she started researching this book, she was trying to learn more about lesbians of color in the 50s. And more specifically, she wanted to know what it was like to be a Chinese American lesbian in San Francisco in this time period. But it was really difficult to find any information out about that. There's not much of an historical record about Asian American or Chinese American lesbians at that time. So her research got very deep and very involved. And at the end of this book, she provides an afterword that is very valuable, and she goes into each piece of the book. For instance, 1950s San Francisco, being Chinese American in the 1950s, computer coders, the queer nightlife and the queer scene in San Francisco at that time, male impersonators, all these things are broken down for you in a very detailed way that is so helpful to underscore all the information that you've gotten in the book. Even without this piece, the book would be wonderful and informative because Malinda Lo is such a good writer. But having that extra resource at the end is a very nice way to sort of cement all the things that you have learned about in the book. The other part of this book that Malinda Lo writes so well is the story between Kath and Lily. The way they connect with each other is very supportive, and it's just really well represented by Malinda Lo. One little detail that I enjoyed in this book when Lily's sort of on her path to self-discovery and realizing that she might, in fact, like other women, is when she stumbles across a display of pulp fiction in a drugstore and she finds a book called Strange Season. And this is a book about two women falling in love, and there's these two women pictured on the cover, and Lily is very interested in this book and she wants to keep going back and reading it. And it sort of helps her to solidify some of the thoughts that she's been having about how she feels about women. It's difficult to really speak in detail about all the facets of this book because there is so much in it and it's so rich and it's so easy to picture all the places that Malinda Lo is describing. And if you want even more information than the afterword in the book offers you, Malinda Lo has, as I said, an excellent website. And on that website, she has detailed in different blog posts all of the research that she did for this book. So you can dive deeper into any piece, and I highly recommend visiting that. I also highly recommend that you read Last Night at the Telegraph Club. If you aren't someone who typically picks up historical fiction, this would be a good place to start because it has so many other components going on. If you're someone who's looking for intersectional representation, this would be a great place to start too. So that is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Malinda Lo. Thanks for joining me.